We get asked a lot of questions from clients and people that we talk to on how do I get my site to rank high in Google. Everyone wants to rank high in Google. And so what we'd like to do is we'd like to start with just some basic webmaster guidelines. These are the very basics. If you don't know these, or if you're the people that are working for you perhaps to do SEO aren't aware of these, then you're kind of dead in the water. So the first thing is you got to do is you obviously want to make sure that your site is indexed in Google. You want to submit a sitemap using the Google Webmaster Tools. Google uses your sitemap to learn about the structure of your site and to increase the coverage of your web pages, as it mentions here. You want to make sure that all the sites that should know about your pages are aware of where your site is online. So you want to submit your site to Bing and Yahoo, obviously. You've got some design and content guidelines. These are three basic areas that Google wants you to start with, and it gives you guidelines to follow. So regarding design and content, make a site with a clear hierarchy and text links. Every page should be reachable from at least one static text link. You want to offer a sitemap to your users with links that point to the important parts of your site. If the sitemap has an extremely large number of links, you may want to break the sitemap up into multiple pages. You want to keep the links in a given page to a reasonable number. Well, what's a reasonable number? The reality is that depending upon the content of your site, do you need 50 links and a left navigation? Probably not. Is it better off to use to break up that navigation somehow so it flows a little bit better for the user? Food for thought. You want to create a useful, information-rich site and write pages that clearly and accurately describe your content. You want to think about the words that users are going to type to find your pages and make sure that your site actually includes those words within it. That quite possibly is one of the biggest giveaways that Google can give you. You want to go do your keyword research in the AdWords keyword tool. It'll tell you precisely what people are typing in when they're looking for a product or service like yours. So it's not a secret. That list might change month over month, but the reality is that Google AdWords is also going to give you the search volume, so you'll know here are the top 100 most heavily typed in searches for a product or service like mine. Clearly, I need to be using these keywords on my pages. Additionally, if you take let's say the lower 100 volume insert, the lower 100 least search terms with lower search volume, those are terms that people may or may not have optimized their web pages for. You could consider those the long tail of your keywords list, and you might want to create 100 pages of content, whether it be in a blog or optimize some other pages that use those long tails where people might have ignored them. Now your search volume might not be as high, but I guarantee you there's more of them. So you want to try to use the words that users would type to find your pages, and make sure that your site actually includes those words within it. You want to put them in the you want to be putting those words in the title tag of the page, in the H1 tag, perhaps in the H2, and then using them in a natural manner throughout the actual copy of the page. Try to use text instead of images to display important names, content, or links. The Google crawler doesn't recognize text contained in an image. So if you must use images for textual content, consider using the alt attribute to include a few words of descriptive text. You want to make sure that your title elements and your alt attributes are descriptive and accurate. The title tags and the alt attributes for images are, again, descriptive and accurate. And the reason is because from an accessibility perspective, people with disabilities, whether it's with sight or hearing, may use a special browser to surf the web, and in those raw text browsers, it's going to be read to them conceivably. So you want to make sure that you also check for broken links and correct HTML. You can use a Y-Slow, that's the letter Y followed by the word slow, which is a Yahoo tool that tells you sort of any HTML errors or CSS errors as well. If you decide to use dynamic pages, in an instance in which the URL contains a question mark character in it, you want to be aware that not every search engine spider crawls dynamic pages as well as static pages, so it may help to keep the parameters short and the number of them few. You also want to come back to this URL here and review the recommended best practices for images and videos. They're pretty straightforward stuff. Regarding technical guidelines, you want to use a text browser such as Lynx to examine your site, and the reason is because most search engine spiders see your site as much as Lynx would. So if you've got JavaScript and cookies and session IDs and frames and fancy DHTML and Flash and things like this, if those keep you from seeing all of your site in a text browser, then search engines can't see it either. They may have trouble crawling your site. So you want to make sure that you're using. Go take a look at your browser in a text-based browser, much like Lynx, and that's how a search engine is going to see it. You want to allow search bots to crawl your site without session IDs or arguments that track their path throughout the site. So these techniques are useful for tracking individual user behavior, but the access pattern of bots is entirely different. Using these techniques may result in incomplete indexing of your site, as bots may not be able to eliminate URLs that look different but actually point to the same page. So basically you'd be confusing the bots with these types of things. You want to make sure your web browser supports the if modified since HTTP header. So this feature allows your web browser to tell Google whether your content has changed since we last crawled your site. So supporting this feature saves you bandwidth and overhead. You want to make use of your robot.txt file. That's your robot text file. On your server, it's a simple notepad file. You name it robot.txt and upload it. You can click here on the, if you want to visit this code.google.com, this will give you some instructions on how you can learn how to instruct the robots so when they visit your site they're indexing things correctly. You can allow and disallow robots to index content on your site. Additionally, there's other instructions at Google Webmaster Tools, and you can obviously test the robot.txt file to make sure you're using it correctly with the analysis tool over the Google Webmaster Tools. You want to make reasonable efforts to ensure that advertisements do not affect your search engine ranking. For example, Google's AdSense and DoubleClick links are blocked from being called by a robot text file. So you want to disallow those types of things using the robot.txt file. If your company has a content management system, make sure that the system creates pages and links that that search engines can crawl. This is going to hark back to the this one here, the question actually up here, where we've got, if you have dynamic pages, most, if not all, CMSs are going to work off a database and build dynamic pages using that database, and they are going to have those question mark characters in the URL, and some of them might have a lot of them. So just be sure that those are in there where they need to be. Most CMSs these days allow you to use what they call SEFs, or search engine friendly URLs, SEF URLs. They might have a plugin or a component or something like this that regenerates or recreates, if you will, the URL that shows up in the browser. So the spiders are looking for clean URLs and not these dirty ones that a lot of the content management systems are apt to create. You want to use the robot.txt to prevent crawling of specific search results pages or other auto-generated pages that don't add much value for users coming from the actual search engines. And what that means is if you've got a content management system, let's say a Drupal or a Joomla or one of those, then you're going to end up with search pages. They all come with search boxes you can publish on the page. You're going to end up with a search results page that's going to be created and perhaps indexed. So use the TXT to hide those pages or disallow the spiders from following those. Obviously test your site to make sure that it appears correctly in different search browsers. You want to be monitoring your site's performance and optimize load times. Google's goal is to provide users with the most relevant results and great user experience. Fast sites increase user satisfaction and improve the overall quality of the web, especially for those users with slow internet connections. One thing you need to be mindful of is there are millions of Americans that still use dial-up connectivity across our country. Largely this is due to the fact that the cable companies and the DSL companies aren't going to wire rural America for high-speed internet because there's no ROI on that infrastructure spend. So these people are going to be either stuck with line-of-sight systems, which are typically maybe 3 meg speed, or they're stuck with some sort of a satellite system, a HughesNet, if you so to speak. So that's going to be like 1.5 megs or maybe 5 megs, but the stuff is still really slow. So Google strongly recommends that all webmasters regularly monitor your site performance using PageSpeed, YSlow, web page test, and other tools here. You can obviously go let's make the web faster. That's at code.google.com/speed. In addition, you've got the site performance tool over at the Webmaster Tools. Google Webmaster Tools that shows the speed of your site as experienced by users around the world. Now, in the last 6 months, and today is January 1st of 2012, in the last 6 months, there's been a lot of talk about page load times, basically load times for your website, and that actually being a factor in the ranking of individual websites. So don't know how much weight it carries in the algorithm when it comes to ranking of the website, but clearly you want to get your pages loading as quickly as possible. We find that YSlow gives you a nice breakdown of things. It gives you a grade, and then it gives you a breakdown of very specific tasks that you need to execute in order to get your pages loading faster. And now down to quality guidelines. The quality guidelines are going to cover some of the forms of most deceptive and manipulative behavior when it comes to rank. So what you want to do, Google may respond negatively to other misleading practices not listed here, i.e. like tricking users by registering misspellings of well-known websites. And it's not safe to assume that just because a specific deceptive technique isn't included on this page that Google approves of it necessarily. So webmasters need to be mindful that our job is to create the most a quality experience for users on the internet, period. They do have, when it comes to ranking here, it says, webmasters who spend their energies upholding the spirit of the basic principles will provide a much better user experience and subsequently enjoy better ranking than those who spend their time looking for loopholes that they can exploit. So there are a handful of loopholes in Google. There's things that Google can do very well, and there's things that Google doesn't do very well. Does exploiting the loopholes pay in the long term? That depends on how quickly, frankly, Google's able to close the loopholes as they issue new releases of their algorithms. So, if you believe that, they give you an out here, so to speak. They give you can report other people. It says Google prefers developing scalable and automated solutions to problems. So we attempt to minimize hand-to-hand spam fighting. And what they mean by that is, if you're being beat by somebody in ranking and you do a backlink trace on that guy or that gal and you see that they're using some shady technique or tactic to get rank on you, it's really difficult to prove it. You might at first think that they're doing something to beat you that's underhanded, so to speak. But the reality is that first off, Google doesn't have the manpower to look into it. On one level, they don't care necessarily. What they care about is, if you were to file a complaint, does it fit into one of the pigeonholes that they've created? And let's say they've got 3 different areas that they're trying to create some sort of automated solution to, right? They know that they lack the ability to filter search results effectively in that specific area, and they get 30,000 complaints about people doing X, Y, and Z. They're probably going to create an automated situation to where it'll deal with those people. So, and that became abundantly clear with the Panda launch. And when they started, they basically said, look, all these content farms are not quality content. When we could get an article from eZine Articles to rank number 3 for relatively competitive keyword, that wasn't the most relative search return, or that wasn't the most contextually relevant search return that Google could be providing for its users, because it was an article site. Let's say it was on ice dam removal, for instance. Google's going to want to return sites that are really relevant to ice dam removal. They're going to assume that people looking for this service that people want to buy, I got ice dams, so I need my ice dams removed, and they type in ice dam removal. If an article at eZine Articles comes up, ranking number 3, that's really not a helpful search return for the user. So, but it was very easy to do, 9, 10 months ago, 11 months ago. It was very easy to create those search returns inside Google using the article directories, and Google saw that and they fixed it. So, hence, a lot of these are the content farms, if you will, were removed from the ranking. So we'll be mindful of that when it comes to the basic principles, the quality guidelines, you want to make sure that you make pages primarily for users, not for search engines. Don't deceive your users. or present different content to search engines than you display to users, which is commonly referred to as cloaking. So you want to make the pages primarily for the users, obviously, and not for the search engines. Avoid tricks intended to improve search engine ranking. A good rule of thumb is whether you'd feel comfortable explaining what you've done to a website that competes with you. Another useful test to ask, does this help my users? Would I do this if search engines didn't exist? That's a really great question to ask, actually, is the would I do this if search engines didn't exist? Don't participate in link schemes designed to increase your site's ranking or page rank. In particular, avoid links to web spammers or bad neighborhoods on the web, as your own ranking may be affected adversely by those links. Now, what do they mean by that exactly? Well, there was this whole ruckus about link farms back in the day, where people were just basically creating random directories with just garbage links with garbage anchor text, and people were just swapping links back and forth, and there was no relevancy to it. It was a manufactured deal. So in addition, they talk about participate in link schemes. Widespread link schemes. Link schemes also would be comprised of the selling of page rank. So if you're buying, paid links on a website. Now that's also kind of a gray area, because there are legitimate reasons why one would want to buy links on another relevant site. Now, what's hard to gauge from Google's perspective is the original webmaster who holds that page rank, if he puts his website into an ad network that happens to sell links on his site, is he doing that to generate revenue, or is he doing it with the intent to pass page rank to people that buy the links on his site? So in order to combat that, what Google is suggesting webmasters do is that you put a no-follow tag on your links. If you're going to sell links directly on your website, put a no-follow tag. That's, again, following these quality guidelines of, look, don't let people cheat and buy page rank, because if they catch wind of it, then they're going to ban your site. They'll remove you from the index. So as a webmaster, one thing you can do is obviously definitely be using no-follows in an appropriate manner when it comes to passing page rank. You obviously, at the end of the day, as the webmaster, you have the ability, if someone's buying links on your site and you're getting 500,000 uniques a month, that's enough reason to sell a link on your web page. Forget about the page rank. The person's actually going to get a generated ROI, conceivably, if they're buying into a relevant network of websites, just based on the monthly traffic into that network of sites. Forget about the page rank. I mean, the page rank is somewhat irrelevant at that point, but your intent obviously should be to sell to people that are trying to target your users, your 500,000 uniques. So enough said on that. Don't use unauthorized computer programs to submit pages. Check rankings, etc. Such programs consume computer resources and violate the terms of service. Google does not recommend the use of products such as Web Position Gold that send automatic or programmatic queries to Google. So the quality guidelines, very specific guidelines, avoid hidden text or hidden links. This is back in the olden days, obviously, when people would put, white on white text for some reason and hide keywords and whatnot. They've obviously figured that out. Don't use cloaky or sneaky redirects. Don't send automated queries to Google. Don't load pages with irrelevant keywords. Don't create multiple pages, subdomains, or domains with substantially duplicate content. Now, this is something to keep in mind. A lot of people were up in arms or talk about duplicate content. Duplicate content is only an issue if it's on your site. Think about it. Go back up to the top again. You're creating content with the user in mind. Why would you create duplicate content on your website anyway? It doesn't make any sense. Each page obviously should have unique content. So obviously don't create multiple pages, subdomains, or domains with substantially duplicate content. So there's nothing wrong with writing an article and syndicating that article using RSS to thousands of websites. It's going to be the exact same article on 1,000 different websites and through the use of syndication. That's a very legitimate process of obtaining backlinks through Google. Google does it itself with Google News. So everyone that's republishing articles via RSS are pulling in those articles and subsequently publishing a backlink to the site that they originally borrowed it from, or basically syndicated it from. So this idea of duplicate content, Google solved the problem of pushing out of a webmaster. Let's say you pushed out an article to 20,000 different article directories, the exact same article with a link in the middle of the page, nice relevant anchor text, the anchor text matched the title of the article, and the article was well written so as to also include those keywords, relevant keywords to the main anchor text keyword. So it made sense that article was very relevant to that. In the old days, that article might rank on the first page in Google if you built a bunch of backlinks to it using social bookmarking and any number of other tactics. They've got rid of that now, so that tactic no longer works. You can't hijack multiple listings on the homepage of Google as easily as you used to be able to using article directories. Depending on some keyword markets, it's still possible, but at the end of the day, it tends to be much more difficult using the content farms to hijack multiple instances of it. So they got rid of that issue. So now the duplicate content issue is only on site. It's only relevant to your website. It has nothing to do with publishing multiple instances of the same article in thousands of article directories all over the web. They're not going to rank anyway, so it doesn't matter. Now, the value in publishing, and I don't want to get into an article marketing rant here, but the value in publishing articles to 20,000 different article directories is that you're still going to get the backlinks from the article directories with the relevant anchor text, and you're still going to get the page rank that's going to pass from some of those article directories. So there's still relevancy in that. It says here, don't create pages with malicious behavior, such as phishing or installing viruses, trojans, and other badware. Avoid doorway pages created just for search engines and other kind of cookie-cutter approaches, such as affiliate programs with little or no original content. And if your site participates in an affiliate program, make sure that your site adds value. Provide unique and relevant content that gives your users a reason to visit your website. So there's obviously a lot of information on this page. The overarching principles are pretty simple, obviously. And Google is very clear as to what they want and what they don't want people doing. Now, they do link to, obviously, Google Webmaster Tools and the sitemap area. You should definitely be following Google Webmaster Tools and everything they tell you to do with your site in there. They've got some review our recommended best practices for images and videos. With videos, it comes down to a video sitemap on your web page. Now, one interesting thing too is that even if you're not posting videos on your own site and serving them off of your own server, and you're only embedding them from YouTube, Google will still give you some rank for that, which is interesting. So, make note of that. But also create a video sitemap for your own website. The robot.txt file is pretty important, so become familiar with that and how you can use it to benefit the search spiders when they come to your page. So you're not shoving. If you have a blank robot text file and you have a content management system, every single piece of file that's being generated dynamically is going to be indexed, which just is not relevant. It's not good for the web as a whole. So come take a look at this page. The URL for this page is support.google.com/webmasters, and I will actually put the link here at the end of the video. Thanks.